by the power of Grayskull.
I made a money.
That's a big Twinkie.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cereal Box Price Podcast. The podcast that serves you 3 scoops of pop culture. I'm your host, Steve Garcia, and I got my co-host right over here, Aaron Smelzer. And man, do we have a lot to talk about. It's just been crazy with everything that's going on with the toys and, you know, just like collecting and just what's going on. So, man, Aaron, how was your week, man?
Crazy. And like you said, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to talk about. I think we're gonna kind of get into a lot of different topics today.
Yeah, man, we're gonna get into a lot of stuff today because definitely gotta tell you my experience with NECA and ordering like the Super Shredder, and oh my god, that was just like it was like torture, man. But I know you have a little story to tell, but I'm very curious to hear what happened to you. So
yeah, so we were gonna I didn't know we were gonna jump right into it. We're gonna talk about like the pre-orders, the exclusives, all this stuff. So today,
okay, yeah.
It's all good. So today was supposed to be the release of the G.I. Joe Classified Wave 2 and the Target exclusives. And so I get up, I go to Target. Now I'm there early. We wait in line. There's about 6 or 7 people in line, which is like unusual. And I'm like, okay, are they all here for G.I. Joe? And you can normally spot like 1 or 2 people. You're like, okay, they're probably here for G.I. Joe. So doors open and these guys take off running to the back, right? So we get back there and guess what? Nothing on the shelves. Nothing's there. And
wow.
This one guy drove from Vermont, 110 miles away. He supposedly talked to somebody in corporate and said, they're supposed to be here. Where are these figures? So this guy's going off, right? And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, okay, you know, they had one exclusive, but it really wasn't. It was like the one that nobody wanted. Everybody wanted the Cobra Trooper. Everybody wants the Beachhead and the Baroness. Everybody's looking for the Baroness. And so we get there and nothing there. So we said, okay. But this one guy's adamant. You have 6 of them, the Cobra Troopers. You have 6 of these Cobra Troopers. They're here. So they can't find them. They don't know where they are. So they end up taking our phone numbers and said, okay, we'll give you a call, you know, if we find them. So I'm thinking, you know, they're gone. Somebody else bought them, whatever. 3:00 this afternoon, I get a call from Target. And Target says, hey, you were here this morning, right? I said, yeah, I was there. They said, well, we couldn't find the Beachhead. We couldn't find the Baroness, but we found the Cobra Trooper. So if you want the Cobra Trooper, it's here. Drive back up and come get it. So I get back in my car, go back to Target, and they had the Cobra Trooper. So I was able to pick up one of the exclusives today. No second wave. The Cobra Commander, the Gung Ho's, I think it's a Red Ninja. None of those were there. Apparently, there's some guy down in Derry that's selling them right now, so they were released somewhere. The Baronesses gone. Nobody in the United States except for one store in California. That's it. So
wow.
I looked on the forums, and I know we're going to talk. This is kind of a good lead into. I know what you're going to talk about. with the Super Shredder, the bots bought every Baroness on the pre-order within 10 seconds.
Oh my God, man. I feel bad for that guy that drove all the way from Vermont. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine that dude? Like, he's getting ready, and like his wife's like, "Honey, where are you going?" He goes, "I'm gonna go to Massachusetts to get these GI Joe figures." Like it's getting to the point. Like it's getting to the point where people are traveling, like buying like plane tickets just to find these things. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So the doors opened up. These guys ran to the toy section, and there was nothing there.
Nothing there.
Unbelievable, man. It's like oh my God. It's funny. I was just at my Walmart at my area, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just check to see if they have any of the movie Turtles here or any Hasbro, anything. I went to my toy section, completely empty. There was literally nothing there but some Godzilla figures. Other than that, no G.I. Joe, no He-Man, no Ghostbusters, no nothing. And I'm just like, this is the state of toy collecting that we're living in. It's like we're living in the apocalypse of like toy collecting.
It's weird. It's odd. I mean, and your Walmart is the same as my Walmart. I got one up the street up here in New Hampshire, and you know, I go to it quite often. You walk in, you're lucky if you find one, you know, something hanging on the shelves that you're looking for. I mean, I walked in there the other day, nothing, none of the new AEW wrestling figures. I mean, it was just an empty shelf. It almost looked like they were like redoing the shelves, but that's every week I go in there, there's nothing.
That is crazy, man. And then the other thing is that like the employees that work there, now obviously 95% of the people that are taking this who are employees are the men, are the guys. I mean, maybe there's some women there that are into collecting, but like from what I'm hearing from people that actually work at these Walmarts, the people that do the stocking when the trucks come, they start taking these things. And then the other thing that I just found out of a YouTube video is that when you buy stuff off Walmart, it has that little like alarm little thing that like when you come out with a product, the alarm sounds off. Now, when it comes in the trucks, you can literally, if you're an employee, just walk out with that if you want. So I've been hearing stories online on YouTube from toy collectors that they know people that work at these Walmarts where when the figures come, even managers, they take them and they just leave with them and they'll pay for them. But like the alarm doesn't even go off. So you have like all these guys like just taking a lot of the stuff that's coming from the truck. And I'm just like, you have no chance of like grabbing any of these things, man. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. So basically they're modern day foot soldiers from the movie. They're stealing the merchandise off the trucks.
Yeah, only that these guys are not like 15, 16-year-old teenagers. These like 38, 39-year-old dudes like us.
They got their secret Walmart lair, you know, somewhere, and they got the 1-Up arcade machines, you know, and all the action figures on the walls.
You see some guy dressed like Tatsu, he's like, go play.
Just grunt. Well, I need more figures.
Oh my God, that's crazy, Aaron. So then what'd you do after that? Like Target called you, they said that they had it, and I don't want
So I ended up driving back up there. I ended up picking it up. They were super nice. I have to give props to Target because I was not expecting a phone call. I was, you know, I was basically chalking it up to I'll find it when I can find it. But, you know, going back into that, I think there are distribution issues like the Baronesses. That it was a Baroness and motorcycle. It was supposed to be released today. I was watching this guy on one of the toy groups I'm in on Facebook. He was at Target this morning at 4:45 in the morning. He was camping out because everybody knew that this Baroness was going to be released. And, you know, we're like, where is it? Nobody in the United States. Supposedly one store in California got them and got like 5. And then they all went to Asia, which I don't understand that. But No stores in the United States got the Baroness. It's a Baroness 6-inch with a 6-inch motorcycle that she poses on, and that's why everybody wanted it, was because it's like the first 6-inch vehicle that was released.
Oh my God, man! So most of those got shipped to Asia. Like I'm just like, what is going?
That's the information that I've gotten from the online sources. Now I don't know how true it is, but you go on eBay right now. There's a couple people selling their ones that they got a pre-order confirmation for, but nobody has them in hand.
That is insane. Like, man, I'm telling you. So, like, you know, and I was telling you this before the show started that a lot of these toys and these collectibles that are being sent out now is for like people our age, people that grew up in the 80s, you know, the 90s. And I mean, if you really think about it, Mattel, Hasbro, like a lot of these lines, they're counting on us to keep these lines going because, like, I mean, how many kids are playing with figures nowadays? Like, I can't really think of like any kids right now because most of the kids that I see on the streets right now, between of like age 7 to like 10, they're all either playing video games on their cell phones. Like, I'm not seeing too many little kids playing with G.I. Joes, playing with He-Mans, playing with Transformers. So like these companies are banking on us. But the problem is like, okay, you're making a lot of these cool collectibles for us, but we can't find them. Like, we can't find them. And not only that, but like, why don't you just place pre-orders then? Like, make it so that, so for example, like I ordered the Toka and Razar off NECA, and it was a 2-pack, and it was $70. Now the shipping cost was like $23 just to ship them. So a lot of people were getting pissed off at the shipping cost alone. Anyways, I look at it as like, you know what? That's $20 that if I had to drive around all the Walmarts and Targets trying to find these guys, that's gas money anyways. So whatever. But it was a made to order pre-order. So if 200 people pre-ordered it, then 200 people are going to get it. And I feel like that's the right way of doing this because, you know, Target and Walmart, the way they do things, especially with stocking some of the shelves, it's not going right, man. Things have to change. And you mentioned the bots, Aaron, and that's another thing, man, because like I told you I got the NECA Super Shredder. And oh my God. So the pre-order started at 1:00 in the afternoon. I was in front of my computer at 12:58. 1:00 came and everybody started putting that Super Shredder in their cart. And every time I try to like just check out, it wouldn't let me check out. It was frozen. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then I had like an Action Finger forum page open. Everybody's go on your cell phone. I'm going on my cell phone. They're like, no, go back on the PC. I'm going back on the PC. And it's like, everybody's like going back and forth. I'm like, what the hell is going on, man? And then like around 1:49, people started posting that NECA was posting up the Super Shredder back again because people ordered 2 instead of 1. So I ended up, after 49 minutes of trying, getting the Super Shredder in my car and actually checking out. But like, again, you know, like NECA, the way they're doing things, like, listen, these turtles, again, they're for us. You know, it's geared towards people our age because we grew up with it, we want it, and they're super popular, but they should do it like the Toka and Razar, where it's like made for pre-order. If 600 people pre-ordered it, then 600 people get it. Like sending them to Walmart. Walmart does a horrible inventory job of keeping track of their stuff, man. And everybody has been having toy anxiety lately, man.
Oh yeah. So you mentioned that, and I gotta applaud NECA on something that just happened recently. So I think they are going to go back to that Toka and Razar type of pre-order. I caught a couple minutes of the Instagram live that they just did with Judith Hogue, who was the original April O'Neil. I think I sent you that info. She's going forward. They're going forward with making the April. in her likeness, which is awesome. And so, but she brought that up about the bots and the scalpers grabbing these figures before anybody else. And she goes, if we're going to do this, we need to do it right for the fans, and we need to make sure that these bots and these scalpers aren't able to grab 5, 10, 15 figures. You know, it needs to be a limit of one per family or whatever, and go from there. And so she actually, as an actress and as kind of an advocate for the fans, basically said, I'm not going to do this unless you're going to do it right. And I thought that was really cool. I really applauded her for that. And her being, you know, playing April O'Neil, a reporter, you know, in the original Turtles movie, she basically said, I want to take everybody through the action figure making process. I want to do this as a reporter would look at the figures. And so she's going to kind of take everybody on a backstage backstage view of, you know, how do you make this figure from start to finish, from the face scans, from the sculpts, from the, you know, from the packaging all the way to the consumer. So I thought that was really cool, and I really applauded her for doing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember I didn't know about that till you sent me the message like, hey, Steve, check this out. And I was like, oh, they're going to do an April figure. And I ended up watching it. And when she said that, I was like, that is awesome. Because I don't know too much about like licensing and, you know, people's likeness, actors. But one thing that I learned that Randy from NECA was saying is that for Casey Jones, the reason why you couldn't take off the mask in the figure was because they couldn't get the license rights to what's his name, to his likeness. And a lot of it has to do with like going through agents, going through management, making a deal so that NECA and the actor, they both make money, you know. So like it's a lot, you know. But like you said, like having Judith Hogue like actually say, listen, I'm only gonna do this if the fans are gonna get this and it's made for pre-order. And that's awesome, man, because you don't hear too many actors, you know, really caring for like, you know, fans out there like, hey, I want all my fans to get this, we're gonna do this right. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah. And you know, talking about likenesses, you know, I think, you know, actors and actresses, they don't want to give their likeness away, you know, because once they have that image, you know, they own it, you know. And then, you know, I know that issue came up with Crispin Glover in Back to the Future. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but in Back to the Future 1, Crispin Glover plays Marty McFly's dad, you know, all that other stuff. And then in Back to the Future 2, Crispin Glover did not give his rights away for his likeness. And you can go on YouTube and watch hours and hours and hours of this stuff. They hired an actor, a different actor, and made him look like Crispin Glover to do the Back to the Future scenes. And Crispin Glover was like, how can you do this? Because you're telling the audience that this guy is me. He's like, he's not me. Like, so now when I go to like other, try to, you know, audition for other movies, they're looking at that performance and like, that's not me, you know.
Wow.
So he had a huge issue with Robert Zemeckis using his, you know, face, you know. And that's where kind of this whole like selling your likeness, you know, if you look at the WWF, WWE, you know, if they do a face scan of you and put it on an action figure, well, they own that face scan. They could put that on anything, you know.
Wow. See, I didn't know that about the Crispin Glover thing. That's crazy. So they had another actor fill in for him for Back to the Future 2.
Yeah, he's not in Back to the Future 2.
That's crazy. I mean, you would think that like Robert Zemeckis and the producer, I always forget the producer's name that produced Back to the Future. But one thing that I did hear about the Crispin Glover thing is that him and the producer kind of had a little, not altercation, but you know, kind of like the producer kind of backstabbed Crispin Glover because they didn't tell him they were going to use another actor. They never reached out to him to be in it. So that's crazy, man. And it's so funny that you mentioned about actors and likeness because and action figures also because Richard Dreyfuss, who was in Jaws, Jaws doesn't have too many action figures, but they wanted to make a Richard Dreyfuss action figure, and for some reason, and still to this day, nobody knows why he doesn't want a figure of himself.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like when it comes to like likenesses and stuff, like he just doesn't want it, and people till this day are like, "Why, Richard Dreyfuss? Why don't you want an action figure of yourself? What is the like? Why? Like what is going on? Like."
Well, you think about how many times, and I mean, we can go, this is a total another offshoot. I mean, think about how many times, action figure companies reuse body sculpts, reuse head sculpts, they reuse those parts. Like if you look at the, Star Wars lines, they basically, when Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves came out with Kevin Costner, they made the action figures of that. If you look at those sculpts, those are all old Star Wars sculpts. And, so I can understand somebody like, especially with the technology today, of like, oh, I'm going to scan your face and we're going to put it on an action figure. You could go in a store 20 years from now and it might not even be a Jaws figure. It could be I don't know. I'm trying to think of just another like random line, like a Ben 10, my son's in a Ben 10 recently. It could be a Ben 10 action figure with your head on it. And you're like, well, why the hell is my head on that action figure? Well, that company owns your head sculpt, so.
Hey, why is my head on a Barbie body?
Yeah, why am I on Ken's body?
That's funny. It reminds me of a Simpson episode. It was a Malibu Stacy episode, and Lisa was getting mad that the producers that made the Malibu Stacy doll, every time you pull the string, she would say kind of like these things that didn't make women feel empowered, like, I'm going to cook you dinner tonight. Are you tired from work, honey? So I guess like Lisa goes to the playground and she tells one of the little girls, like, can you pull the string? And the little girl's like, mine says something different. And when she pulls it, it's Spider-Man. And he's like, my Spidey sense is tingling. So yeah, going back to like you said, like, using the same sculpt, it's kind of funny because I'm remembering that like Malibu Stacy episode where it's a Malibu Stacy though, but by accident they got the Spider-Man freaking voiceover on it. So
yeah,
that's hilarious, man. But yeah, man, it's crazy, Aaron. Like, I don't know. I feel like toy collecting, and it's funny, Randy from NECA said this. It's like, remember when like collecting DVDs was like a big thing? Everybody's collecting DVDs and like, like then like Mondo. Have you ever heard of Mondo movie prints?
Oh yeah, the posters.
The posters. So like Mondo has become a big thing, like collecting for people, and it went from like DVDs to like movie posters. And then before all that was sneakers. Like sneakerheads were collecting like Jordans. Oh my God! People were like paid $300, $400 for a pair of Jordans, and Randy was saying it on an interview that like now, which is very interesting, toy collecting, even for the people that do not collect toys, like all the people that were buying Jordans just to sell them, those are the same people right now with the bots, because they're like, hey, you know what? I made money off these sneakers. I don't really collect toys, but I can sell these at the second market for like double, triple the price.
Oh yeah.
And that's literally what's happening right now. And like, it didn't used to be like that 7-8 years ago.
No. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head that, the toy collecting is just, it's through the roof right now. And we've kind of bounced some ideas back and forth. I think with everything going on in the world, with quarantine, with everything going on, everybody's kind of like blah. When you buy something that brings you back to a different time, when you buy something that brings you happiness, that's gonna, your endorphins are gonna go up. You're gonna remember a good time. You're gonna, take the toy out of the package or leave it in the package. Maybe it's just, displayed, but you can look at it. I think during this time, it's bringing people a lot of happiness. It's bringing people a lot of joy, having something from your childhood or something that brings you happiness. but at the same time, it also bringing a hell of a lot of frustration because trying to find these damn things is like jumping through hoops. And, you know, I do think that people are looking at this as a business. You know, when the pandemic hit, look at everything with like the video games. You know, Wii's, you know, we talked about how the Wii prices had jumped up. You know, just buying a Wii off of Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, you could normally get them for $50, you know, $40 or $50. When this hit, they were selling for $150, $200 because people were kind of like, oh, well, I'm bored. I need to play something, you know, let's play Wii, you know. Nintendo Switches were the big thing. You could not find a Nintendo Switch in the stores when the pandemic hit because people were looking for something to do. But there were also people taking advantage of that, going to the store, buying a Switch for $300 and then putting it on Facebook Marketplace for $450. You know, I think there's always people that are going to take advantage of people's heartstrings, take advantage of people's, money.
Yep.
And, you know, but it's also, you know, there's a convenience factor too, you know, like, are you going to drive you know, we've talked about this. Are you going to drive to 20 different Walmarts and try to find a Switch and burn, you know, $100 worth of gas? Or are you just going to bite the bullet and pay the damn scalper what he wants? Because you're out of $150 extra dollars, but you have what you want and you're not stressing out about it. And then it goes back to another part of like only the rich can afford to be toy collectors right now.
Yeah. It's so true. I feel like you have to just have so much money because it's like, all right. And Aaron, I think you could agree on this. If you're a Star Wars fan, then most likely you're a He-Man fan. And if you're a He-Man fan, then, you know, most likely you're a TMNT fan. So it's like, you know, you have all these toy lines coming out like Star Wars Black Series, NECA with their turtles, the He-Man series, Transformers, G.I. Joe now. You know, and it's funny because, like, okay, if you like G.I. Joe, then maybe 80% you're going to like Star Wars. And if you like Star Wars, so it's like, you know, you could be multi into different fan bases, you know. It doesn't have to be just turtles. So it's like now you have to be very careful with your money. All right, I have to pay rent and I gotta eat today. So like
I can't buy toys, I gotta eat.
I can't buy toys, you know, I gotta pay my rent, not be homeless in the streets. So like what am I gonna do? So yeah, like you have to be in a dollar bot and be like, okay, like, can I really shell out all this money? And you know what's crazy is that Super 7, they're also doing the turtles. So you have NECA doing turtles, Super 7 doing turtles. And honestly, this is like the best time to be a Ninja Turtle fan because you have the Toon Turtles, the movie Turtles, Super 7 doing their versions. Then like you have He-Man doing, and now G.I. Joe's coming with the retro or like original. So it's like, man, can you keep up with all this stuff, man? And that's why I told myself, Aaron, I'm like, you know what? I can't collect everything. You know, I'm just gonna stick to one thing, and that's why when you sent me the other day, you were like, hey, Steve, you want this? It was like the mutagen thing, and I was like, oh man, I'm like, it's cool. Don't get me wrong, I want it, but I'm just like, all right, let me just stick to just like the movie line, because if I dabble into everything, I'm gonna be broke. Like, I'm just gonna be broke.
Well, it's so like, you know, when we grew up, you know, you could walk into a toy store and get a figure for under $5, you know, and now everything is $20, $25.
Yeah.
And I understand inflation and all that stuff, but there's a, you know, it's just a, you know, you will go broke if you go into the store and you continuously buy, you know, 3-4 figures. You know, I mean, 3-4 figures now is going to cost you $80.
Yep.
You know, and you know, like I picked up, you know, 2 of the G.I. Joe classifieds today. That's $40. You know, the mutagen, you know, and that didn't even have any figures in it. You know, it was a T-shirt, a tote bag, some guitar picks, and a ticket stub, I think.
Wow.
And it was cool, And it's a cool display. You know, I showed you the picture. I'm doing the I got the MOTU bus, and I'm doing all the rockin' turtles. So I ended up picking up one of them just for the display because it's like, you know, that goes with that Ninja Turtles rock and roll theme. But that was $25, and that didn't even have a figure in it.
Wow,
you know?
man.
And so, you know, you will go broke. And I think you do at some point have to pick and choose. Okay, am I going to collect He-Man? Am I going to collect, you know, Ninja Turtles? Am I going to collect G.I. Joe? But it's these damn toy companies. They're pulling at our 80s childhood heartstrings, you know, and they're going, you know what? We're going to release this really cool figure, and you're looking at it up, you know, if you're lucky enough to find it on the shelves, and you go, damn. I need that He-Man figure, or even like the crossovers, you know, the He-Man WWF or WWE figures.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. I got the first 2 waves because they're amazing. Third wave has been hard as hell to find.
It has been hard. Yep.
The Undertaker Scare Glow. I want that so bad. You know,
me too. I can't find that though. Actually, I cannot find that either. Like
it's a Walmart exclusive.
Oh, here we go.
You know, there's your Walmart. You know, the foot soldiers stealing the stuff out of the trucks and putting them in their secret lair.
I mean, seriously, man. It's funny because like so somebody after the Judith Hogue thing on NECA, and she talked about the whole figure thing. Somebody adds a comment and they're like, they're already sold out.
Yeah.
It's not even in production. They're like, it's already sold out. Like, and that's everybody's like answer to everything now. Oh, they're at Walmart. It's already sold out. So like now when I see like, oh, it's a Walmart, a Target, I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna be on my Walmart or Target. But I will tell you this, Aaron, and I don't understand this. People in the Midwest, North Dakota, Tennessee, Arkansas, for some reason, on these toy group pages that I'm in, those Walmarts are filled to the brim with everything. Hey, check out North Dakota, Ghostbuster Plasma Series, Transformers, WWE, G.I. Joe, the NECA Turtles. I'm like, what is going on? And like, maybe the Midwest isn't that big into toy collecting like we are here in the East Coast or the West Coast, but like out there, there's just tons of that stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
yeah, I've noticed that too. I've noticed that a lot of the stores kind of in the middle of the country, you know, that they still have stock and stuff because I think, you know, we're probably in the same toy groups on Facebook, and it's like my jaw just drops. You know, these guys are taking pictures. Hey, you know, look what I found at my Walmart, and they got carts full. And it's like, you know, I've walked into Walmart for the past 3 months and I haven't found anything. You know, and you know, I mean, it's just crazy. And but that goes. I follow Zack Ryder was his name, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast.
Yep.
I'm drawing a Matt Cardona.
Yep.
I follow him, and I you know, because he talks a lot about the distribution issues that these companies are having, and I really think that there are distribution issues with Target, with Walmart, that some stores get 100 and other stores get 5. You know. And I don't know how they determine who gets what, but man, they need to show some love up here to the Northeast. You know, Target, Walmart, if you're listening, you need to show the Northeast some love with some figure stocking up here.
Yeah, man, seriously, man. I don't know who that truck driver is, but man, somebody pay that guy like $2,000 to like bring some extra stuff over here. Cause I mean, I don't know, man. I might just like get in contact with the mob. Remember how when the mob used to like stop cigarette trucks and like, you know, like stop meat products? Like, hey man, Mr. Languri, I'm gonna pay you like, you know, $10,000. Can you stop this Walmart truck up over here in the north? Just take over.
That's funny you bring that up. I was watching the Netflix series about the mob, right? And, you know, about when the whole RICO Act and everything. One of the lawyers that was defending one of the mobsters, I don't know which family it was, but I guess his daughter wanted the Cabbage Patch doll when the Cabbage Patch doll was released.
Yeah.
And so he goes on record, in the Netflix documentary saying, my daughter really wanted this Cabbage Patch doll. They were sold out everywhere. This mob guy that he's representing in the court case comes to him with a case of 6. And is basically like, here, this is for your daughter for everything that you're doing for me. And it's that same mentality. We need mobsters to get some damn action figures.
I mean, seriously, man. Has it gotten to that point that that's what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna have to dwell into the underground criminal black market just to get some of these toys? Like,
oh man, I guess so. I mean, going on eBay and paying some of these prices, you already feel like a criminal.
oh my God, like it's crazy. And you know what's funny? Speaking of that, like, I'm in the toy groups, same toy groups as you, and I'm seeing people like, oh man, I had to bite the bullet. I didn't want to do this, but like, here we go. I had to pay the $150, and some people are really holding off. And I feel bad when I read those comments like, oh man, I had to bite the bullet, man. Like I just couldn't. I had to get it. It's like a drug addict. Like, oh man, I know it's this, but I need it, man. I need it.
Yeah. Well, happiness releases endorphins, and when you get that thing, it sucks spending that $150, but when you get it, you're gonna be happy. You might not be happy with the price, but you're gonna be happy that you have it in your collection. And I think a lot of us, some people look at it as an investment. Some people think like, oh, I'm going to buy this toy, I'm going to leave it in package, and I'm going to use it as an investment. If you don't look at it from an investment standpoint, and you just look at it from I just want this to keep it in my collection, then I think it's worth whatever you're going to pay for it, but I think a lot of people, I would say the vast majority of people probably look at it of, I like this figure, but if somebody offered me $80 for it and I just paid $20 for it, I'll probably sell it because then I'll get it down the line again. I think a majority of people look at it this way, but the person that's going to spend, the bite the bullet and spend that $150, that's staying with them for the rest of their life. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. I definitely agree on that, man. Hey, what I was going to ask you is, how do you feel about when companies, for example, let's talk about Hasbro, right? And, Hasbro has the Hash Lab. And at first, out of nowhere, last year when it was like, we're going to make the Unicron. It's like the biggest Transformer ever. But we need $600 from you by tomorrow. And everybody's like, well, tomorrow? They need $600 from me tomorrow? And then, like, they kind of ease back and let people, actually, like, you can't just tell somebody, hey, drop 600. So we can like back this up and like make it into production. And my whole thing with that is, guys, you're Hasbro. Like, why do you need backing from people to make Unicron? And I think there's two. For me, I think there's two reasons. One reason is that, again, it's geared towards us, the adult collectors, because what little kid's gonna go out there and buy a Unicron right now? So obviously, if they're gonna make this, they want to make sure that they make a profit out. So okay, I get it. You want us to put money into this, and also it's like for them, it's like, okay, we didn't spend any of our money to produce this, but like, how do you feel about like stuff like that, like Aaron, like when a toy company's asking you like with the Barge and Unicron? I think right now we have the Sentinel coming out from Hash Lab, which is like, listen, I love X-Men. I would love this Sentinel, but man, it's close to $400. And I just can't see myself right now dropping $400 on a Sentinel. Don't get me wrong. Sentinels are badass. I love Sentinels because, they're the ones that hunt the mutants down. But, man, I don't know. Like, how do you feel about all that?
I think now, I don't know how much profit they're actually making off that. When they're asking you to drop a certain amount of money, I feel now I don't know. I haven't seen any of the numbers, but just from a business perspective, if you're asking somebody to put that much money down, I think that their profit margin is probably very minimal, and they're only doing it for the fans. Like I know with the sail barge, with the Jabba sail barge, I was watching that really closely, And because I mean, that was really interesting to me. And I think that started as a Kickstarter, or was that?
Yeah, it started as a Kickstarter and then it got into that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it went into the second phase.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting to me because they said, we're only going to produce, however many backers we have. And so, and that for one, it was cool because if you backed it and you paid the money, you knew that you were going to get a very limited product. But you got to think, there's a lot of molds that go in. There's a lot of time and money that goes into creating these specific molds for these specific figures or parts of the vehicle or Unicron. I mean, if they're making the largest Transformer they ever made, I mean, they have to make the molds to make the parts, so it's not like they could just reuse an old mold and say, oh, here, like Optimus Prime, Ecto, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to use this part and this part and this mold, but we're just going to put a new paint job on it. I think that, their profit margin is they're probably still making money, but it's probably very minimal. I feel like that is a more fan-driven, aspect of the toy collecting. But again, goes back to you got to have money in order to do this. But I guarantee you that person, there's probably a few people that look at it from a business perspective of go, well, I'll buy 2 of them, I'll keep one, and I'll sell the other on eBay or the Facebook marketplace or whatever for double, and I'll make my money back.
Yeah. A lot of people, that's true. A lot of people do look at this as like a business venture too, because do you remember when and this just tanked when Hash Lab was trying to do the Cookie Monster, and they were trying to get a back.
I didn't see that one.
Oh, when you have the chance, Aaron, just go online and look that up. So, listen, I love Sesame Street, love Jim Henson. You know what I'm saying? Love the Henson Company. Obviously, they did the turtle costumes for the movies, and they did a lot of great movies. And so they were gonna come up with a life-size actual Cookie Monster, like an actual puppet, and it looked amazing. But then, like, in my mind, I was like, okay, how many people out there are really into the Muppets like that, and into having an actual Cookie Monster, and it tanked. A lot of people, they were asking for like $500 or $400, like for backing for this thing, and that didn't go through. Then I remember the Matty Collector, when they were doing the Ghostbusters stuff before, they were trying to do an Ecto 1, like a one-on-one replica Ecto 1, this huge one, and they were asking for backing, and that didn't even happen because they didn't have a lot of backers. So like, I don't know, like it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because, for example, like, let's say you were like into Cookie Monster like that, you're like, yeah, all right, I'll back this up right away, but then like it didn't get enough backers, and you're like, oh great, like it looks like my dream just got crushed having a life-size Cookie Monster, so
yeah. But I think you have to be realistic too, and I mean, as long as you get your money back in the end, I mean, you could support something, I mean, now I've never bought something off of Kickstarter or whatever, but I mean, I got to think that there's a bunch of Kickstarters that never made it, that didn't make their goals, and then at the end, that you get your money back. I think it's a grand gesture, and I think it's a kind of a kudos to the company if you do get something that goes off the ground, like the Unicron, like the sail barge, and stuff like that, because I think that you're giving something back to the fan community that has maybe wanted something for so long, but the toy companies have just not produced it because it's too big of an endeavor unless you have that kind of money, that guaranteed money up front. So I think that's the key, is that having that guaranteed money up front. But I'm going to kind of jump to askew because you talked about stuff failing, and I wanted to talk about this with you because it was really messed up. That Trolls doll. I want to talk about that Trolls doll.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'll let you take this, man, because, oh, man. Let's talk about, yes, for those listening, we're going to talk about the whole crazy dilemma thing with like the trolls and Hasbro. So
Well, you brought it to my attention. I'll take the lead if you want me to. That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. Go ahead, Aaron. Why don't you tell the audience what's going on? Why don't you tell the audience what's going on with that little piece of cookie, right?
Well, yeah. So you want to talk about something failing? This is failing. This is burning. This is being thrown into the dumpster. This is being set on fire. This is bad. So Trolls. It was the Trolls World Tour doll, Poppy. All of a sudden, these talking, it was a talking doll that was released, and very innocent, very very cute, whatever. It was a big kind of, 12-inch,
Yeah,
12-inch
12
troll
inch.
doll, I think.
Yeah.
And so on the back it has 10 phrases, so you push the button and it talks and whatever. Well, a mother on YouTube discovered that underneath, if you looked in its private part, genital area, there was a second button, and the button that was pressed would make these kind of weird noises. It would giggle. It would kind of like, oh, it would kind of make a little surprise noise. And nowhere on the box did it say that it had this second button. Nowhere on the box did it say anything about this feature. And somehow, some way, some toy designer sneaked this kind of very sexualized button into this children's toy. And man, mothers, fathers, everybody was pissed because it was weird. It was scary. It's like, why are you sexualizing a child's toy? Why is this button in the private area? And the one video that I sent you that I found was talking about like grooming children, that this is okay. And I thought it was totally messed up, screwed up. Whoever toy designer that should be fired. Whoever was even in on that line should be fired. It was bad. It was really bad.
Yeah, I remember I brought this up to you. I sent it through Messenger, and you were like,
Yeah.
"What?" Then you sent me the video, and I'm watching the video, and I'm like, it's one thing to read about it, but then like when you watch that video, I'm just like, okay, who? First of all, Hasbro, if you're listening to this right now, and I know you're not, but if you are listening to this right now, come on, man. What's going on with your quality control there? I mean, come on. There's the toy designer. First of all, you have the designer that designs it on the computer, the actual design. Then you got the sculpting. Then at the end, you got to have quality control, man. The quality assurance. Like, you're really telling me that putting a button in a little kid's freaking toy in the general area, that's going to pass and be like, yep, ship them. Like, come on. Like, really? Like, no, man. Somebody in Hasbro messed up. Now there's all these toy recalls for this doll. And this is not the first time that we've had toy recalls, because, man, I could go down the line right now with toys that have had recalls. For example, let's go back to Star Wars with the Boba Fett firing action Boba Fett, where a little kid fired it and the missile got stuck in his throat and it got lodged. And
So that happened it was actually Battlestar Galactica.
oh yes,
So
you're right. It was Battlestar.
And Battlestar, because the ships shot the rocket, and then so the Boba Fett was in production,
Right.
and then that's the kid got the missile stuck down the throat. They said, Star Wars said, nope, we're
Yep.
not doing that. They pulled it back, and then they recalled all the Battlestar ships so that the rocket wouldn't fire out. So if you're listening and you have a Battlestar ship with the rocket that fires out, that's worth a lot more, because that was prior to the recall.
Yeah, and also like those. I mean, I don't know who has a firing Boba Fett, but I know those are really hard to get. Especially there's one that has the back end that looks like an L, and then the other one that looks like a J, like in the back of the firing mechanism. So yeah, I mean, you have that toy recall. You also have Nightmare on Elm Street. So when the Nightmare movies came out with Freddy Krueger and Robert Englund playing the iconic character, these dolls came out of Freddy Krueger. And when they first came out, you had all these religious types, these reverends, like, oh, this is demonic, such a demonic doll. We need to get this off the market. You're trying to sell demons to our child. And guess what? There goes Freddy Krueger. And again, if you're listening right now, you have one of those first Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Kruegers, you're holding a little bit of cash right there, because that was another toy that got recalled. And it's like, like for toy companies, like, okay, I get it when it comes to like a firing missile. I get it when it comes to like a Freddy Krueger doll. Some people don't want to get it, but like, I'm sorry, Hasbro, you put a button for a little kid that does a giggling sound in his genitalia area. I mean, come on, man. Like, somebody screwed up, man. I feel bad for whoever that person is, man, because he is getting reprimanded, or he or she right now. So that's not a good look.
I mean, it's not a good look, but it just makes you wonder, like how many of these toy companies are producing stuff like that. And I mean, you had kids are very impressionable anyways, and to have something like that, and kudos to the mom and dads that have spoken out about this. Just something isn't right. Like, it's taking the innocence away from toys. When we were kids and we would go into the toy stores, sure, there might not have been warning labels like crazy, like, oh, choking hazards, and all this other stuff, but at least, they were, the toys had not everything was sexualized as it is today,
Right.
And it's just, I think kids, like you said, the kids that are 7 to 11, they're not playing with toys. They're not playing with figures. They're playing video games or doing stuff on the TV. Well, you're introducing them to a lot of stuff that like we as kids weren't introduced to, I mean, I'm the generation that got my first computer when I was a teenager and didn't, finally knew what the internet was, probably at 15, and so like, it's different for us because we were that generation that, played outside and played with action figures and played with all this stuff. We didn't have these distractions, but I feel like kids today, they're growing up too fast. Like you're not, the youth of today is just, a lot different, but to put something like that on a toy, shame on them.
Yeah, man. And you hit the nail on the head with like saying that the youth of today, it's not like how we grew up, because like technology and toys have changed to the max, because we come from a generation where my first video game console was a Nintendo, and now you have save states. You can actually save your game. And I remember being a kid, my mom saying, shut that off and go to sleep. And I'm like playing Zelda or like Mario. I can't save this thing. I'm on level like 22. So I literally have to leave it on, put like a t-shirt over the system so that the red button doesn't show, then shut off the TV, go to sleep, wake up the next morning to continue. And that's if it didn't freeze, and continue the next morning. And it's like, a lot of these kids are not going to understand that feeling of like, man, we really had to really play, like blowing into your disc so that it can work. And, actually going to rent games, NES games, or trading games off with your friend. And like now you can play games online. Like your best friend can live in Hong Kong and like you're playing in New Hampshire with your friend. And, like when we were kids, Aaron, you would be right next to me playing an NES game. Like you're sitting right next to me, and it's a social thing. Now everything's online. Kids aren't really playing with toys anymore. And, it's funny because we're going to talk about movies also tonight, and look at the film industry also. Like, Aaron, do you remember when like in 1992 or 93, when a movie will come out in theaters, you'll watch it. Let's say Ninja Turtles came out in 1990. I was like 7, 8 years old. And I'm like, man, I can't wait to get this on VHS. And back then, transferring a movie from film to VHS would take a year, maybe a year or so. Now with technology, you can literally show a movie in theaters, and in a month or two, it's already streaming on Blu-ray. Like I remember being a kid, so like the time span now from going to screen to Blu-ray to streaming, or like people making their own video games from home, like, or making films now from home, like things have changed in the last 30 years dramatically, which is making
Oh
things
yeah,
so much easier. Like,
yeah, yeah. Going on that, I just read an article the other day. AMC just passed a deal with the kind of distribution companies that said if a movie's released, they're giving them permission to release it on DVD and Blu-ray 6 weeks after the theatrical release. So
wow,
now
that's major.
that is
That's
for
major.
that's COVID related, obviously, because AMC, movie theaters, they're not making the money that they're going to be, that they used to be making, because nobody's going to the movie theaters anymore. So these movie companies are trying to figure out, how do we make money? And so let's say Black Widow, that's going to be that's supposed to be released soon, coming up. Once that's released, supposedly AMC theaters said that you can release it on DVD, Blu-ray in 6 weeks.
Wow. That is it blows my mind that in 6 weeks you can get this film. In
Yep.
6 weeks. And I mean, like, we have Bill and Ted 3, which is gonna be a VOD. I think August 28th that movie comes out, or the
Yep.
23rd. But yeah, it's gonna be well, they're gonna release it, I think in theaters, and then it's gonna go on VOD. But did you read that AMC, they're gonna open up their theaters August 20th, and it's gonna be 15 cents to see a movie?
Yeah, I don't understand that. That to me is just. I don't care if you're charging $15. I don't care if you're charging $150, but 15 cents, like I don't know. With everything going on in the world, you better take precautions. You better take guidelines, because if you go into a movie theater and obviously everybody's going to go, oh, I can see the new Bill and Ted for 15 cents. This is going to be awesome. Well, like, if you got 200 people in there and there's a virus outbreak, shame on AMC. I don't know what their ploy is with that. I don't understand it, but
Yeah. I don't get it either, but they wrote a statement saying, we want to help people, and we're trying to bring it back to the 1920s when things were 15 cents. Listen, people, we're not in the 1920s, we're in 2020. So it's like, not even that, but like, we got COVID going on. So like, what are you gonna do, man? Like, it's crazy. And then, like, Walmart is trying to set up drive-in movie theaters in their parking lots as well.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that I think anything to kind of adapt and overcome, during this time, setting up the old drive-ins where you stay in your car, you bring your own snacks, you do whatever. I don't know how, if you tune into the radio, that's how they used to do it. You tune into a radio station. If they're doing it that way, then I think that's awesome, because you're still having a family time, or maybe a date night. You're still with your family. You're in your car, so you're safe, and you're enjoying a new movie. I think making adapting and overcoming during this time is awesome. But they better not charge you $30 a car to go to the Walmart drive-in and take advantage of that situation. Because most drive-ins, I know there's still a few drive-ins up in Maine. I don't know down in Florida where I used to live. There used to be the one at the swap shop in Fort Lauderdale, and you could, I think it was like $5 a car.
Yeah.
So like, you could go there with all your friends and for $5 and watch a drive-in movie theater. So if they're going to do it right and charge like $5 a car or something like that, I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. But yeah, hopefully they don't take advantage of what's going on and charge $30 per card, man, because
Right.
that would just be insane. And it's like you said, you want to take your family out, have a good time, be safe, and just watch a movie. I know that some of the movies are like E.T., Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, like the classic 80s films. Yeah, so I know, and Sony Sony, obviously Sony has the Ghostbusters toys at Walmart, so like they have a lot of their movies being played for that drive-in theater for Walmart. So
Yeah.
uh,
But again, whose heartstrings are they tugging on?
again, it's us. It's
We're gonna be the ones, hey, let's go watch the Ghostbusters that we've seen
yep.
300 times, but it's at Walmart.
Yeah, it's us, man, and it's funny because do you remember one of the toy episodes that we were talking with Ben, and we asked him like, hey, do you really think that in the next 20, 30 years, like the same stuff that we were into in the 80s, and 90s, like, is this stuff gonna be like worth any money? And he said, yeah, like he still thinks that this stuff is gonna be worth money because there will be people out there. So what I'm seeing currently right now is, okay, so our parents, my mom and dad were born in 1954, 1955. They're both 65, 64 right now. And, a lot of the baby boomers, they were collecting like Howdy Doody dolls or like little die-cast cars or like whatever it was that they grew up with or stuff from the 70s. Then you have people like us where, we're in our 30s or late 20s, and now that we have an income and we have money coming in, we want to start buying the stuff that we couldn't get when we were kids or the stuff that we remember. That's what we collect, the stuff that we do. So obviously us right now at our age, being in our late 30s or maybe even early 40s, yes, 80s stuff, 90s stuff. This is the stuff that we remember. But now Ben 10 and the kids that grew up in like the 2000s, or like 90, that were born in 97, 98, 99, I'm seeing those kids like, oh, Nintendo 64. Oh, I got to get a PS2. Oh, this is what I got to collect right now. And honestly, even at the flea market that we frequently go to, man, and like I'm seeing young kids, maybe kids in the like 24, 25, and they're collecting the things that they knew from their childhood. So, like
I think it's cyclical. I think that I guess one of the things that I can kind of I know a lot about video games and like Atari, right? Like Atari is not a good system. It's just a basic system, but there's not a lot of draw for Atari because of the gameplay and because of the graphics and all that other stuff. But I think because, people that Atari was in the 70s, it was pre-Nintendo, and I think the people that really collected that have kind of outgrown it. So I'm curious to see, and there are still people that collect Atari, don't get me wrong, but I mean, at the flea markets, that we go to, you can walk by 5 or 6 Ataris and they're going to sit there all day.
Yes, you're right. Yep.
But you walk by a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo and that shit's gone in the first 5 minutes that the flea market opens, Yeah. And so I think that's the difference. And maybe in 10 years, people are going to slow down a little bit and sit there and go, oh, well, it's Nintendo, or it's, maybe they don't collect as much Nintendo. Maybe they're still collecting the 64 and PS1. I had a good conversation with a buddy of mine about this, like, Wii and PS2, because those systems, kids that are turning, 19, 20 now, they played Wii and PlayStation 2. So in another 10 years, they're trying to project like what's going to be the next big thing. People are already collecting like Wii games, PlayStation 2 games, and all that stuff, and just putting them in storage units, kind of betting that in 10 years that's going to be hot because they're going to be our age now and sit there and go, I want that when I was younger.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's funny, Aaron, that you say that, because last Sunday I did pass by one of the vendors and there was an Atari with Atari games there and nobody bought it.
No, it was there all day.
Yeah, all day. It's so funny that you say that because I have bumped into so many Ataris at our local flea market and nobody grabs that stuff. It just sits there.
But if it's a GameCube or a Nintendo 64, it's gone. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and man, we know those video game dudes at our local flea market. Those guys are like hawks.
Oh yeah.
Those guys can't. Those guys are like, I smell NES games over here.
Yeah,
No,
it's pretty cutthroat.
yeah, it is, man. Speaking of the flea market, man, I just gotta bring up the story, man. So for the audience that are listening to this right now, me and Aaron, we go to our local flea market religiously. We're pretty much almost there almost every Sunday, just collecting, shooting the shit. Our friend Dave, he owns a local toy shop there, and he also gives us great deals on toys. But Aaron was telling me, he's like, "Hey Steve, you know what I'm looking for if you find one?" I'm like, "What's that?" "A G1 Megatron, even if it's just the parts and pieces." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And there's a guy, I'm not gonna mention his name, but there's a guy at the flea market, and like, I've bought like a Talk Boy from him, my Technodrome. And Aaron, again, thank you for the Talk Boy, because you gave me the heads up. You ended up calling me. I was on the other side of the flea market. You're like, "Steve, you gotta get this Talk Boy right now." I was like, "What the hell?" I was like losing my shit, man. So anyways, that day Aaron's telling me, "Yeah, I'm looking for, a G1 Megatron." And we go to this vendor, and we're asking him like, "Hey, do you have any toys?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think I got some Transformers." And we're like, "Oh man, can we see the Transformers?" So, he goes in his car, and I'm thinking, all right, he's gonna pull out the box. Aaron's looking for a G1 Megatron. Let's see what this guy has. "Hey, do you guys like PlayStation?" And me and Aaron just standing there looking at the guy. We're like, nah, we're just here for the toys. He goes back in the truck, pulls something else out. And what was it? I forgot what the second item was.
Laser tag.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, you guys like laser tag?" And Aaron's just staring at me, and I'm like, nah, man, we just want the Transformers." And then he pulled out one more thing. It was three things. I forgot what the item was. And
I
I'm
can't
just
remember what the third one was.
yeah, and I'm just like, "Dude, we just want the Transformers." So he takes out the Transformers, and automatically they were like, like the new school, like Transformers, and we're like, nah. So he looks at us, he's like, "Oh, so I guess I don't have good stuff, huh, guys?" And we're like, "No, you don't." We just ended up just walking away, and then our good friend Dave, all he did was look into the window of the car in the passenger seat. He just walked away.
Yeah, he knew. I told you. I said he scoped it out before us. We shouldn't have even stayed or asked or whatever. I said if Dave didn't see anything good in the car, we don't need to stay.
Yeah, he just literally just walked away. He was like, "Yeah, I already knew there was nothing good in there." I was like, "Man, his toy radar is like really good, man." Oh
Yeah,
my
I
god.
was just. I couldn't say anything because I think I was a little bit annoyed, and I didn't want to say anything that that I was gonna regret. But I just loved your comment. You were just like, "So do you have the Transformers in your car or what?" At that point we were just like, okay, we don't want the PlayStation, we don't want the laser tag. I can't remember what else he pulled out, but he pulled something else out. We're like, no, just give us the toys.
Oh my god. That's see, because here's the thing, like at the flea market, we go there, Aaron, because we're trying to find deals. We're not trying to pay Comic-Con prices or like eBay prices. And there was a gentleman there, and I was trying to buy some toys off him, and I'm like, "How much is that?" $150. And you ended up getting one of the turtles that he had. And I remember like about 2 weeks ago asking him, "Oh man, you got one of those like giant vintage turtles. Like, how much do you want?" "I want $87." And I'm like, okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
very, very aggressive. And he had a box of like McDonald's toys. So I'm pulling out like the McNuggets, that moon guy from the 80s. His face was like the moon, and McDonald's had him as like a spokesperson, annoyed, and some couple just little trinkets and stuff. And the guy looks at him, it's like five things, $25 he wanted. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, $25? I'm like, bro, I'll put everything back in. I'm like, listen, I'm just going to say this right now. If you're a vendor and you're listening to this and you're selling stuff at a local flea market for double the eBay price or convention prices, then stop. Okay? Like, no, it's a flea market. people are going there to get deals. Nobody's gonna spend $100. If I'm gonna spend $165, I might as well just get it on eBay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I think some people have their expectations too high on some things, or maybe they might have a sentimental attachment to it, or they're trying to look on eBay before they go to the flea market and sell it there. So about that turtle. So I think when I asked them about it, it was like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I said, how much is the turtle? And he said $50. And I said, I can't do 50. It's just a basic giant turtle, no belt, no accessories, nothing. And I mean, it's in good shape, but so the next week I saw it and I said, how about 40, I think I asked him, how much is it now? And he said 40. I said, no, I think I'm still firm on 30. I think that was my bottom line. So then the next week he still had it, and I said, okay, but how about 30? It's been 2 or 3 weeks now, and he was like, okay, yeah, you've been persistent, I'll give it to you for 30. But I mean, like, if he just would have gave me 30, given it to me for 32 weeks ago, it would have been, fine. But I think sometimes too, you got to think how many people come up and maybe, I'm not trying to defend the vendors, but maybe say, hey, I'll give you $5 for something, and it's worth 100.
yeah,
I'm sure there's a level of frustration that I've seen as a buyer where somebody comes up and says, oh, how much is that? Oh, that's $20. Oh, I'll give you five. I can understand that. So maybe he was just having a bad day, or I'm not trying to defend the guy, but, I think that there are vendors there that, I ran into one a couple weeks ago that, they had a Wii system, and it was a bare bones Wii system, no games, 2 controllers. And I said, how much are you asking? And he goes, oh, I want $100. And I just said, nope. All right, have a good day. Cause it's $30, maybe $25 all day long, but if you want that money, you got to sell it on eBay and take the fees and all that other stuff.
No, yeah, definitely, man. But yeah, man, so that's a little flea market story adventure. And obviously this episode, we're talking about stuff that we grew up with, things that are being remade. So I got this list, and I'm just going to run down this list real quick. And obviously, things are made for us, for the adults, for the kids that grew up in the 80s and the 90s. And just like toys, TV shows or movies are being remade to cater to us. And I'm going to run down the line. So these are 80s and 90s TV show and movie reboots for 2020. I'm going to start off with this cartoon show. This cartoon show was produced by Steven Spielberg. It was hilarious. It was on Fox. All right. And the writing was awesome. The writing staff, I feel like in the 90s, the writing staff in some of these cartoon shows, it had a lot of adult humor. And as kids, we didn't really understand some of the adult humor. But when you go back and you watch it, you're like, whoa. So that's what they meant by that. So Animaniacs is coming back on TV. Animaniacs will be on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken. And Rob Paulsen, and if you guys don't know who Rob Paulsen is, he's a famous voice actor. He does Pinky and the Brain. He did Futurama. Did a lot of the voices on Animaniacs. He's coming back. A lot of the original writers are coming back, and Steven Spielberg's coming back to produce. So I am excited to see Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, and to see Good Idea, Bad Idea, and the Wheel of Morality, turn, tell us the lesson that we should learn. And, I love this stuff, man. So that's going to be awesome that Animaniacs will be coming back, man. I don't know. Did you hear about that, Aaron?
Yeah, I think we found the same, because we kind of discussed this. I think we found the same list. So I was looking online, and I was like, that's interesting. And I was reading the list, and that was the first one. And I saw that, and I was like, that is fantastic. Because I can't tell you how many weekdays I would come home from school, pop on the TV, and Animaniacs would be on, and then maybe watch like Power Rangers, something, but Animaniacs had a lot of innuendos, man. And it's fantastic because as a kid, you didn't get it, but watching it as an adult, you're like, oh shit. You're like, whoa, okay. And
Oh,
I loved all the little like kind of mini cartoons within the cartoon. I think that was kind of like my favorite part of Animaniacs. But I mean, just the sheer craziness of it, and it's one of those cartoons that if you've never watched, you can pick it up and watch it, and you will be hooked. It's addicting. It's fantastic because the humor is so witty and the writing was so good. And I think that that's just something that you don't get in today's TV shows.
no, you don't. And it's funny because a lot of those writers, like Conan O'Brien wrote for The Simpsons, and a lot of writers came from like prestige colleges like Harvard University, New York. Like some of these writers back then in the 90s, like they graduated from some of these top schools and really smart, witty guys just writing a lot of this humor. And one of my favorite little mini cartoons in Animaniacs, because you mentioned the mini cartoons in it, was Chicken Boo. And
Oh
Chicken
yeah.
Boo, for those that never watched Animaniacs, Chicken Boo was actually a chicken, and he would wear a disguise to look like human guys, but he's not a man. He's a Chicken Boo. And I remember there was an episode where he was the president of the United States, and he's actually a chicken just wearing like a suit jacket. And everybody's treating him like the president, but in every episode there was this one person that was like, he's a chicken, I tell you, a chicken. And like finally, like his suit jacket comes off, and they believe the person. And like I would just be dying. Like, how does nobody know this guy's a chicken? He's not the president. Like,
Yeah, it's almost like the Fairly what is it, the Fairly Odd Parents,
oh my God, yeah.
where it's like Fairy Godparents, it's like that guy's a chicken. I think my favorite mini cartoon was Mindy and Buttons, the little girl and the dog.
Oh, that was a classic.
And it's like Buttons, bad dog. I mean, the dog saves the day, and the girl's always getting into trouble, and it's great. But then at the end of every episode, the mom, kind of like the mom from Muppet Babies, you only see her legs.
Yeah.
It's like bad dog, bad dog, Buttons. This poor dog saves this girl every day, and he gets scolded.
I know.
But then Mindy gives him a hug, and it's all better.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I remember that, man. I gotta go back and start because Animaniacs is on Hulu, the originals cartoon. So I gotta go back and start watching some of that. But next on the list is CBS Peacock streaming is bringing back Punky Brewster.
Punky Brewster.
Yes, and the original actress will be coming back as Punky Brewster herself. But I think she's either gonna be mentoring or is gonna have a kid or something. But yeah, Punky Brewster is coming back on CBS Peacock. So that's something that they're working on.
So maybe we didn't find the same list, and maybe I got a trick up my sleeve. So I found I don't know too much about Punky Brewster, but Rugrats is supposed to be making a new movie.
Really?
Supposedly Paramount named the director for the new Rugrats film. And it's supposed to be released January 29th, 2021, but there's supposed to be a new Rugrats movie coming out.
That's awesome, man. I loved Rugrats too growing up, and I loved Reptar, man. Every time there was a Reptar episode, Halt, I am Reptar. Halt, I am. Oh my God, Reptar cereal, Reptar bar. I used to love Reptar, man.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Did you ever get a chance to get a Reptar bar from FYE when they came out?
I didn't. My little brother did, and it had like green stuff on the inside. He was telling me.
Yeah,
Like,
because it's supposed to dye your tongue green like in the show. And so like he would bite it, and like it didn't really work. At least my wife and I got one and we tried it. It was good chocolate, but the green dye did. I was expecting like to stick my tongue out like when you ate like those little paint gumballs as a kid, that your tongue would just be, painted. It was green, but it was like kind of like a faded green, but it was still cool that you could kind of like eat the Reptar bar and your tongue would go green.
Oh, that is awesome, man. Oh man, I wish I would have known about that. It's funny, man. I'm looking at my toy collection. And I do have a Reptar in one of the shelves, man. It's like a little green Reptar. Anything Reptar, I'll buy, man, because I don't know. It
Yeah.
just brings me back to like Rugrats, man. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the Rugrats thing, Aaron. So that's good to know. I didn't know that one.
I'm glad we got different lists.
No, yeah, that's good, man. That's awesome. I didn't know that. The next one on my list, Aaron, and I don't know if you remember this as a kid, was Amazing Stories from Steven Spielberg.
I don't. I mean, it was a book series, right?
Yeah, so Amazing Story was kind of like Steven Spielberg's version of the Twilight Zone. And it was just different stories. The last time it aired was in 1987, and Apple TV has a reboot right now, and it's actually playing right now on Apple TV. But like, I remember watching Amazing Stories as a kid, and again, it was just like little mini stories. Like it'll be like an hour. Each episode was like 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, but like yeah, man, it was kind of like the Twilight Zone, but with that Steven Spielberg like feel to it, man. So
Okay. I'll have to check that out. I thought that it was a book series, but I didn't know that there was a TV series.
yeah. So yeah, they're bringing that back, man. You have anything on your list there?
I do. Supposedly they might be bringing back Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh my, I didn't even know this one either. What?
So it says it's supposed to be coming back out as a film from Paramount Pictures and a television series on Nickelodeon.
Wow, a film. Now I wonder if the film is gonna be aimed at teens or adult. Like, like I don't know. That's interesting.
So it's supposedly I'm guessing it was supposed to premiere late last year, but I think with everything going on, it's to be announced. But supposedly it was in production, and maybe it's kind of the ace up the sleeve in Nickelodeon to kind of bring back the older viewers of those days of like all that. What is it? Well, it was Snick, right?
Yeah,
Saturday Night Nick.
Yep.
With like all that, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and a couple other shows.
Keenan and Kel. Yeah. Oh my God. You know what I remember as Nick? Do you remember all that when they did Action League Now? It was like the action figures.
Yeah, I think I posted a video of that on the podcast Facebook page a couple nights ago.
Yeah, you did. And one of them that you posted was Flabemius and Bob, which is like the alien with the monkey or something.
Yes.
Oh my God, I remember that. That would have been such a cool action figure. That or the Action League Now toys. That would have been awesome, man.
I mean, I watched probably 3 or 4 episodes of that Action League Now, and that brought me back. I mean, Meltman,
yeah,
and and what was it, Stinky Steve, the scuba diver or something,
Yeah.
And I mean, they were a naked man. I mean, it was
the flesh.
The flesh.
He's
I mean,
super strong and super naked.
I mean, that stuff was just it was so dumb, but it was so awesome. And it's like, like I remember watching, Ren and Stimpy. My mom and dad hated Ren and Stimpy. And I'd be they'd be kind of like sitting in the same room, and I'd be laughing, and Stimpy would be picking something out of his ear or his nose or whatever, and I would just be dying, and they were like, Powdered Toast Man would be flying in, and you're just like going, my parents are like, why are you watching this? And I'm like, I love it. I don't care. I love it. And that's another one that they're supposed to be bringing back.
Yeah, apparently Comedy Central is bringing back Ren and Stimpy. Now, my whole thing is this. Did you hear the drama that's happening with John Krafowski, the creator of Ren and Stimpy?
No.
All right, so there's a documentary that's coming on about him, and I actually watched this YouTube. Somebody made a YouTube. So what happened was this. John Krafowski, for those that don't know, he is the creator of Ren and Stimpy. And Ren and Stimpy, even though it was a show on Nickelodeon, had a lot of adult content, to the point where there was an episode that was banned on Nickelodeon because it was starring George Liquor, and George Liquor was this character who, in the name, drank liquor. And actually, he's in an episode of Ren and Stimpy where Ren and Stimpy enter a dog contest, and he's training them to win the dog contest. And he's like, "Come on, let's go!" He's always yelling at them. Anyways, that episode got banned. But John Krafowski, what ended up happening was he was exploiting young girls, where he would get these letters like, "Oh, Mr. John, you inspired me to be an animator." And he will write back to the women like, "Hey, you know what? Why don't you come down and come work at Spunko," which was like his animation studio for Ren and Stimpy. And these girls will come down to work at Spunko, and they'll be like assistant producers or production assistants on the show. And it was just a way for him to hit on them. Now, listen, I'm not saying that the guy did this or like these are the facts, or I wasn't there. I didn't see any of this. This is coming from the women that are alleging that John did this to them. There is a documentary that's going to come out about this soon, and I'm very interested in watching it. But I guess Nickelodeon right now, even though it was created by John, they don't want him to do anything with it. So my whole thing is, are we going to get the original Ren and Stimpy? Because, again, this is all coming from John. Like, this is something that he created, how the characters acted out. And also, if you guys notice, Ren and Stimpy had a lot of 1950s, 1960s kind of like animation style humor, because John Krafowski, he grew up watching a lot of 50s, 60s shows. So there's a lot of that aspect on Ren and Stimpy, too. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to end up on Comedy Central, because Spike TV had the adult one, and woo, man, was there a lot of how can I say this? There's a lot of gay stuff going on with like Ren and Stimpy on that one. If you guys have not seen, not against the gay community, because I have a lot of gay friends, I'm just saying that there was a lot of that going on in that show on the Spike TV. But yeah, that's very interesting, Aaron. I'm glad that you brought that one up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it all depends on who owns the rights. If John owns the rights, then obviously he has the right to not release the licenses. But if Comedy Central has acquired the rights, they can hire whoever they want. And obviously, with everything going on in the world, I think that, it might not be a bad thing to cut ties with John and go a different route, because I mean, look at everything like Rick and Morty, and you have all these, writers with Rick and Morty, and that show is freaking great. It's hilarious. And I think if you did a Rick and Morty style Ren and Stimpy, I think that it would be fantastic. I think that, you can still have the nostalgia of Ren and Stimpy and maybe do it a different art style, or maybe do it a couple different ways. I think when you reboot something, obviously, we're going to always go back to the original. I think we have a tendency as humans to do that, and I think a lot of reboots really don't kind of grab that attention that the originals do. Like they did that Thundercats reboot that failed horribly.
Yeah.
Because it didn't have that same feel. But I feel like, and this is just me talking, about like the Transform. We talked about this, the Transformers on Netflix. That was, I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was a little 6-episode, mini series that they introduced the characters again. And it was kind of like that origin story again of how, the war for Cybertron and all that stuff. I thought that they did a fantastic job with that. Obviously, there's a lot of reboots that fail. There's a lot of reboots that do okay. I think that if the hearts are in the right place and they get people that maybe had some say on things, maybe a couple of the writers that wrote for the original show. I think if you bring them back into it, maybe not John because of his past or whatever's going on with him. I think if you bring in maybe an old writer and a new writer and you kind of merge the two, I think that's when the reboots are really successful.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said with Rick and Morty, man, if you bring in the right writers, because like for me, yes, the animation could be amazing, but when I watch a movie, it's all about writing for me. Like, is the story good? Is this gonna make me laugh? Like, you can have a comic book with the best illustrations ever, but like, if the story isn't good and the writing isn't good, like, it doesn't matter if it's shot like amazing or if the animation's top, or if you're listening to an album and oh well, the beats and the drums and the guitar sounds good, but like the lyrics are stupid. Like for me, the writing is everything, man, when it comes to like creative stuff. So yeah, I definitely agree on that. Okay, so we're gonna finish off. So we did TV shows. I'm gonna name 2 movies that are gonna be rebooted. Before we end our things that are old or new again episode here, but I'm gonna mention this one, Aaron. This is a classic. We grew up on this movie, and they're gonna reboot this with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, I want before I say the title, Aaron, I want you to picture Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the leading role in this. Okay.
All right.
Okay, this is a John Carpenter film too that we grew up with, and Mortal Kombat took aspects of this movie. Big Trouble in Little China is going to be rebooted. Now, it's still in the writing stages. The Rock is supposed to star. The writing is by Ashley Miller and Zach Stantz. But The Rock said that he wants John Carpenter involved in the project in some sort of capacity. Now, Kurt Russell starred in the original Big Trouble in Little China, which was an amazing movie. Awesome. John Carpenter obviously is known for horror. I think he did Hellraiser. No, that was Clive Barker. Clive Barker did Hellraiser, but John Carpenter did Escape from New York, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of amazing movies. And I mean, Big Trouble in Little China, for those who have not seen this movie, man, it's martial arts mixed with mystical stuff. And if you played Mortal Kombat, you got these 2 guys that do electricity that really reminisce of Raiden. It's actually Raiden in the movie. But The Rock is supposed to be in the starring role in this. I don't know if you heard about this one, Aaron.
No, I haven't, but I can't. I don't know. I can't. It's hard for me to picture The Rock playing something that Kurt Russell originally played.
Yeah.
Now I can understand it's a reboot. I can understand that, but you're talking about 2 totally different physiques, 2 totally different body types. I mean, The Rock. I mean, I don't know. It's just, to me, when you say the movie, I immediately think of like Kurt Russell. I cannot picture The Rock playing that role. Now, The Rock is very versatile. I've watched him a lot of his movies. I watched his wrestling career. I think he's an amazing actor. He's an amazing performer. But I don't know, something about that. Just it's kind of like, oh, I don't know if that's the best choice.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you 100%. I just don't know if. All right, you mentioned physique. The thing for me is that Kurt Russell, he wasn't a big guy, but like for me is that like Kurt Russell, he was very witty, very sarcastic. He had to think on the spot. And again, physique, whereas The Rock, that's a huge dude. Like he can knock somebody out. He can knock somebody out easily. Whereas like Kurt Russell in it, he wasn't as strong, but he had to rely on being smart, being witty, being sarcastic. 2 totally different like ways. So I don't know. I don't know how this is gonna turn out, man. But if John Carpenter gets involved, because John Carpenter, he stopped getting involved in the film industry, and from what I've been reading is that John Carpenter, all he does is watch basketball all day. So if they can get him involved in this and from watching basketball, like, I mean, maybe it'll be good, but let's see, man. Let's see what happens with this.
So I kind of just Googled it real quick while we're talking, just to kind of get a little bit more information. And one of the like Google searches is there a Big Trouble in Little China 2? And it says Dwayne The Rock Johnson is developing a sequel to 1986's Big Trouble in Little China as a starring vehicle for himself. But original star Kurt Russell tells USA Today he probably won't be in the continuation of the director John Carpenter's action adventure. So, I guess Kurt Russell's probably not going to be in it. I'm curious to see how that continuation is, because a lot of these reboots too, and you can look at a lot of the movies that have come out in the past 10 years. If you reboot something, you have to almost grab on to some of the original cast to bring them in, either as a cameo. You look at like 21 Jump Street,
Yep.
You brought the original cast in as a little cameo, just to make that connection from the old to the new. And then once you have that connection, you run with it,
Yeah.
But I feel like if you don't have that connection, the reboots really aren't as successful.
Yeah, I agree with that, man, 100%. Me and you are on the same page because I'm a big movie buff. I watch tons of movies, man. I just love movies, old movies, new movies. Right now, I'm trying to catch up on all the Godzillas. Love Godzilla. So yeah, man, like like I don't know. I'm just like, again, a lot of these movies are geared towards us. It's like, hey, let's get some of these kids that grew up with this. Let's remake this. And you know what's funny? That's like them remaking The Wizard. Remember The Wizard back? Pretty much The Wizard was a Nintendo commercial, full-length Nintendo commercial. Like, imagine them rebooting that now. It'll be a PlayStation commercial, a whole movie about a kid trying to join a PlayStation competition. So,
right.
Do you have anything on your list?
No, I didn't have any. I didn't have any new movies coming out.
All right, so here's my last one, and I want to finish off with this. Aaron, I'm very excited about this. As a matter of fact, I have a friend who recently was working in Rhode Island for Warner Brothers video games. He did a lot of the character designs for the Batman Arkham games, and he recently last year posted on his Facebook status that he got a job in LA working on this. Now, Gremlins 3 is being made. So from the information that I got, Gremlins is going to be a reboot. Christopher Columbus said, and for those that don't know about Christopher Columbus, you should know who that is because he directed Home Alone. He's done a lot of Christopher Columbus did do Home Alone. It wasn't Robert Zemeckis. So yeah, Christopher Columbus has done a lot of great films. So he's saying that it's actually going to be a reboot. I hope it's not. I hope it's a continuation because from what I've been reading, the original actor who played in the first two, he should be coming back. But HBO is developing an actual Gremlin cartoon series. It's going to be 10 episodes. It's going to be a prequel to the 1984 film and its 1990 sequel, The New Batch. Now, this cartoon series is going to be awesome. And Aaron, I'm just going to tell you what it's going to be about right here. So, the cartoon Gremlins, which is going to be premiering on HBO Max, it's set in the 1920s in Shanghai. The story of how 10-year-old Sam Wing met the young Mogwai called Gizmo. Now, for those that have never seen Gremlins and who do not know who Mr. Wing is, Mr. Wing is the antique shop owner who was Gizmo's caretaker before the father ended up buying Gizmo. So this HBO cartoon is going to be a prequel to the first and second movie with Sam Wing set in the 1920s, how when he first discovered Gizmo and their adventures before he sold them off in a 1980s film. Aaron, how do you feel about that?
I think that that's awesome. I think that it's going back. You're bringing a lot of, nostalgia back to it. And I think that going back to the kind of origin stories that a lot of these movies have done in the past, I think that's a good play.
Yeah, and it's so funny, man, because there was a Simpson episode where Homer buys an evil Krusty doll, which is making fun of like Chucky, and he enters this antique shop, and it's Sam Wing, and Homer's like, can I get that doll? And he's like, the doll is evil. All right, can I get some yogurt? The yogurt is also evil, and it contains Potamius axodite.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I'm really excited. Man, we talked about a lot of stuff, man, and everything in this episode was geared towards our toy anxieties, everything that's being developed towards us, all the film and movie reboots, man. So I hope that everybody listening today, all my toy collectors, all my movie buffs, we're all with you. We are all in this together. We're all struggling with you. We all want to get the same stuff. Just know that you're gonna get it. Try not to pay the scalping prices on eBay, and just wait. If you can't wait and you have to pay the scalping prices for some of these figures, these collectibles, then we understand. But just know that we're all in this together. All us toy collectors. And watch out for all these movies and reboots and TV shows coming out geared towards us. Aaron, do you have anything else to say before we end this awesome episode?
No, I think we covered a lot, but I think just talking about like the scalping and stuff like that, I think that you really kind of have to try to persevere through the kind of struggles that the hashtag first world problems that we go through, trying to find some of these toys. I came home and told my wife this story, and she was kind of laughing, and I said I think it's hard because you want to try to find a toy, but it's not as easy as just walking into a Toys R Us like we did when we were younger. I think that, these toys are in demand. Some people are collecting them. Some people are reselling them, and I think that because these toy companies, like we've said multiple times, pull on our heartstrings, it brings us back to that, oh man, that'd be really cool to own that again. And I think, it's all about persevering and just trying to, keep at it, go to the stores, go to the, flea markets, go wherever you are. Obviously, if it's a new toy, you're going to have to go to the Walmarts, the Targets, just try to find it, but if it's something that you really don't want to, drive, to 20 stores over the course of 2 weeks to try to find, then maybe it's worth it for you to pay, $40 for a $20 figure. And that way, you're not wasting gas. But I think they're going to be out there. They're going to be released. I've seen it, recently with the Plasma series, the Ghostbusters. When those first were released, my wife and I were looking for them because she knew that I wanted them, and we ended up finding them probably 3 weeks after release, and we were like, oh, we're all excited because we haven't found them, and then now every Walmart and Target I walk into. Walmart I walked into yesterday, they had top stock of these things. So I mean, they were over capacity they had so many of them. So I think that eventually maybe with like, especially when things are first released, like the G.I. Joe classifieds, the Ghostbusters retros and stuff like that, I think that eventually give it a month or two and it'll quiet down, because you're not having this influx of like people wanting it right that second. I think give it a month. I just don't know how long the production runs are on these figures, and that's above my pay grade. And if I knew that, I would be able to guesstimate, when to buy these things. But I think you just have to persevere. I think that's, the key. Like, when you bought that suit, when you got that Super Shredder, you didn't get it at 102, you got it at 149.
Yep.
And that was because you were doing your research, you were on the forums, you were doing all your hard work, and they said, oh, well, they're uploading them because some people got two, and then you were able to jump back in and get one. So you persevered and you got that figure, you pre-ordered it, and I think that that's really what it boils down to. But I think the toy companies need to do their part to make sure that the bots and the scalpers are only getting one at a time. You can't, don't order 10 at a time. and really give the customers, and because sure, you want to make a collectible toy, but you want to make the customer base happy too, because they're going to continue to buy those toys. If somebody has a bad experience on the NECA website, they might not come back to buy that second figure.
Yeah. Wow, man, that was you kind of had like a little tear coming down my eye. It was kind of inspirational for us toy collectors there. I don't know why, Aaron, but I was picturing you like at a mountaintop, just holding like this bill of like toy collecting and just reading it to everybody.
well, maybe I inspired you, but
yeah, wow, it's Coach Carter right here, getting me inspired. Oh man, but yeah, man. So listen, everybody. Like Aaron said, we're with you. We're being strong with everybody. With that being said, find us on anchor.fm/Zero Box Prize Podcast. Once you go on that website, you can listen to where we're available, which is Spotify, Podbean. You can leave us a voicemail message there. Also, please subscribe on our YouTube page, which is Zero Box Prize Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us. Hit the like button. Head over to our Facebook page, which is Zero Box Prize Podcast. We post a lot of pictures of, just toy news, movie news, some of our collection. I posted up a few things there of NECA, Megalopolis toys coming out with their dates of their pre-orders for from Jim, Barrier Commando. So yeah, man, head over to our Facebook page if you guys want to post it there. And yeah, man, this has been another great episode of Zero Box Prize Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Garcia, and I'm signing off with my co-host, Aaron Schmelzer.
See you later.
All right, guys, and take it easy, guys. Bye.